Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds by nerds. My name's Ryan.
I'm Nate.
Ted.
Dave. And today, we're tools. Oh, no, wait. We're talking about tools.
Actually, I think we're talking about proficiencies.
Proficiencies that are
tools
part of
just
tools.
happen to be a proficiency.
So they're the catch-all of that.
So, Proficiencies 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We kind of did the primer video on this when we got in the PDF. But now we've had the book and we got the stuff and the things. And Colin Clausen asked us about tool proficiencies. So we said, you know what? Let's just do
Tools.
proficiencies.
Tools.
Right?
Yeah.
Which include tools.
Which include tools.
Tools.
And so what you have now in 5th edition is you have armor proficiencies, weapon proficiencies, skill proficiencies,
And
tool proficiencies,
Like the Dremel or the drill.
instrument proficiencies,
Yeah.
and vehicle proficiencies.
Well, all the instruments, the vehicles, all of that falls under tools.
Tools. Yeah.
So, it's just
Tools.
Ted knows tools.
the instrument is a tool for entertaining or amusement. The vehicle is a tool to get you from here to there. Under the definition here, whatever.
So, basically, Colin wanted to know how the tool proficiency work. Do they give you advantage? And no, really, the way the tools work in this edition is it's just a subset. All the proficiencies have subsets, and they're not really any different than the other ones. They just give you the proficiency bonus, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
+2 to +6.
Right.
Yeah.
And it allows you to do, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
I would say the thing that really separates tools from other types of proficiencies, or from skill proficiencies, is the fact that you actually have to know how to use them to do the thing. The same thing, with everything else, you can attempt it, you just don't have a proficiency bonus.
Right.
But in this particular instance, I would say you actually have to have the proficiency in order to attempt it.
Well, I mean, it's. I think that would be the DM's call. Like,
Oh, I happen to be a DM.
you have.
Boom! Called that shit! Oh, yeah!
Can't do it. Not gonna do it.
No.
I think it spells out too whether you can do I think it might even say in tools that if you're not proficient then you can't really do anything. As far
Well,
as it
this
goes.
is one area of the game where really you have to rely on common sense,
But-
either through the players or the DM, or some agreement in between there. And honestly, so not anyone can just pick up Smithy's tools and start forging a sword.
I absolutely agree with
They're
you.
probably going to end up with third-degree burns all over their body for just trying that.
I've many years ago,
You did just that. You picked up Smithy's tools and tried to forge a sword.
I did not try to forge a sword, and I didn't just pick it up and get burned. I had a demonstration by a blacksmith, and the people I was with were given the opportunity to say, "Hey, do you want to give this a try?" And it was number one, exhausting, because you got the work was accomplished so slowly, but a little bit of exposure, and that's having done it. I would try to say, "Oh well, I know how to do something now," but the rule system is light, and anyone can make any kind of check. It's just a matter of whether you're successful or not. The rule says that if you're proficient with a tool, you can use your proficiency check to attempt it, or your proficiency bonus to make it a check. So if you're not proficient, it says, well, then you can have a go at it, and you just use your mod.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the areas where, unless they put something in their backstory and that led me to believe they would have an inkling of a chance to attempt it, I'd just nix it.
I agree. I mean, that's a homebrew, or our game situation that I agree with.
And as a DM, any of you guys have seen me DM, online games or our live sessions, pretty much, I let pretty much anything go and let people try all kinds of crazy stuff. I really don't care. But at a certain point, common sense does.
I want to use this backpack full of alchemist fire to attack the group of snakes.
Yeah, why not? I want to break my polearm in half and attack somebody with it. I don't care. But,
Same guy on both of those, by the way.
Yeah. But I want to try and forge a sword, and I've never touched tools before. Yeah, even I got to draw the line somewhere.
Right. Some level of ridiculousness.
But at the same time, painting, pottery, cook, you know, unless you're trying to make something that's exquisite, those are ones that aren't as crazy.
Yeah, I'd probably give that a go. I mean, hey, even if they are trying to make something exquisite, even in the kitchen, you can get lucky.
On a natural one, food poison. Goddamn food poison. No way around it. Yeah. Everybody
On a natural
needs,
one, you eat something even a goblin isn't fitting for a goblin's palate.
you need the latrine
you know,
close by.
Glass blowers tools or musical instruments. I mean, those are things similar to the Smith tools that you really have to have exposure to. You're not just gonna, you know, pick up an instrument and be able to, you know, play something spectacular. You're not going to be able to, you know, using glass blowers tools and make this, you know, fine, delicate piece of stuff. You're probably just going to break the glass.
On music, you may be all right with percussion. We could do something kind of okay with percussion because just beating things rhythmically. So
I'll buy that one.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Symbols.
But what if your character's really, really white?
things that involve
Should they get a penalty, even though we don't, or disadvantage?
So if they're an elf, they're disadvantaged because what elves are really pale. We all know that, except for Drow.
I would kind of leave it up to what it was kind of about. So if you're going to go out and you're going to say, well, I found a picture of a plant in a book, and I'm going to go cut some down and bring it in. All right, well, you don't really have a lot of herbalism skill, but if you have a kit, you're at least, you know, you're able to put it in jars. You're able to have like a drying like rack or something like that. You're not just going to be... But someone would have those shown to you, even if it's just something simplistic like that. But you're not going to make up some kind of concoction that's going to help you heal better just because you've got a kit with you. Unless the stuff's already in there and it's labeled or something. You know?
Well,
and it says mash this with water.
The healing would go under medicine. Medicine kit. So.
Or healer's kit. Or
What do you
whatever
think
they
the
call
herbalism stuff's for?
it. Poison.
Poisons.
Oh, really? No, also proficiency with this kit is required to create antitoxin and potions of healing. Bam.
Potions of healing.
Potions of healing.
I think herbalism's really.
So you
for
need the herbalism kit to make a magic item for potions of healing.
Yes.
There you go.
Juggalo goblins and herbalism. I think one of their characters should have herbalism.
Yeah, they probably should.
Yeah.
Gobblos. They're gobblos.
Yeah, the goblos. Yeah.
All right, so you know, you mentioned that, you know, this was a talk on proficiencies. Is there anything to really discuss with armor, weapons, or skill?
A little bit. You know, well, okay. First of all, they brought some old school shit back with proficiencies in the sense that you can now pay to learn proficiencies. 250 days, 250 gold, bang, you just learned a language or learned how to use a tool. Now, SR2 Joker did a pretty good video on the proficiency system for 5th edition, talking about more specifically that aspect. And, you know, talking about, well, why can't you extend it to other proficiencies, you know, like armor or a particular weapon or skills. And, I kind of agree. Like, does it really matter? I mean, 250 days, it's almost a year in-game. Yeah. And they have to have been working at it and have to, you know, expend the resources in order to get it. You know, the way most of our games go, like, you know, they're like 10th level by the time 6 months has gone by. So, you know, but that was a different video we did about venturing. But, I don't think it breaks the game, especially in this edition, because the bonus isn't that much higher.
Right.
Yeah, and you can always have somebody actually defrauding the player characters, like teaching them how to do something.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
That would be so great. So you spent 250 days doing this and all that gold. You didn't actually learn how to do it.
You've only learned the curse in Goblin. You didn't actually learn to speak Elven.
Yeah.
Ryan, that's just evil.
Hilarious.
I think you should develop a character around
a
that.
charlatan that just goes
That's
around.
what I was gonna say. Only someone with the charlatan background can effectively do that one.
Yeah, like a bard or a rogue should go around doing that. I'm sure. Yeah, good con man. You know.
So currently, the 250 days, 250 gold is just for a generic proficiency like survival or.
No,
It's
language or
tool.
Oh, language or tool. Okay.
It's very specific.
Okay. So, let's say you want to start with the ability to use a tool set, and have a proficiency in it.
Oh, just play Mountain Dwarf.
Done.
Done.
Okay.
Done. All right. What's
Let's
your next
say
question?
any kind of
didn't
dwarf.
want to be a dwarf.
Wait, what do you mean?
Why would you want to be a dwarf?
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
so
Well,
dwarfist.
the gnomes. Do gnomes get the?
Tinker tools.
Tinker tools?
They get a tool. Yeah.
Okay.
They get tinker tools.
Well,
Alright.
only the tinker gnome.
Well, of course, it's a tinker gnome. You get tinker tools.
So the dwarf is in any proficiency then?
No, dwarf
For
is
a
actually
tool.
kind of specific.
Oh.
It's like stone carving, brewing, and smithing. Although, I mean, I would open that up depending what the character came up with, because even dwarves have to do other stuff too. There's other jobs in a dwarven hold, and
Yeah.
their industrialness is applied to whatever they do.
Anything under the artisan's tools, I would probably allow. But
So-
if you came up and says, "Yeah, as my dwarven tool, I want to,"
Cooking
Hook
kit.
binding.
I,
hook
well,
binding.
no, I mean even the cooking I wouldn't have a problem with, But if they came up to me and says,
Character.
I want a musical instrument as my tool, I'd be like, yeah, I'm really not seeing that.
So they've got a lot of different.
Hey, they need their scalds.
Oh, you know what? Though that makes me think. Juice has got the Brotherhood of the Rock is a band of dwarven troubadours or bards in his campaign world, and they're like they're dwarves, but they do like the stomp type music.
Mm.
Oh, jeez.
At
I
least
can see
it's
that.
not.
I
it's
can
not-
see that.
Yeah, at least it's not Riverdance, I guess.
Yeah.
Why you hating on the Riverdance? Why you hate Irish people?
It's more of an elven thing.
It's an
He doesn't
elven
like the
thing.
elves.
It's more of an elven thing.
Yeah.
Riverdance.
I'll do all of them.
So I mean, what I guess with my tool proficiency thing, I feel since I've dabbled in like over half of these things, I feel like it's kind of unrealistic to say, well, like what did you do? Where you just is like every adventurer that doesn't have a tool proficiency, a farmer or a baker or a candlestick maker. Like what? I mean, even wood carving is in here, so it kind of. I think it would be cool
Well,
if
I
people
think-
had a tool set and it
Well-
wasn't just like, oh, you know how to play gaming dice.
Well,
You've spent your whiled away the hours when you were younger doing that.
See, I think that there's a difference between dabbling and seriously knowing. Like there's a number of different things in the artisan list that I've done, but it's all things that I've played around with a little bit. It's nothing I've devoted a serious amount of time to. I mean, I played a horn, when I was in high school for a number of years. So if I were to have kept that up, I would say, oh yeah, I'm proficient in that. But the other things were I've had exposure to it.
Well, it's also your
So-
proficiency bonus. Keep in mind, so it's going up with your level. So in the
Well, I mean,
beginning, it's not really.
I'm pretty high level.
All right. Well, that aside, let's say you start at a first level. Okay, you're +2. Well, then you have your tools, so you're making something or doing something. Like, I don't know. I just see like it makes me feel like most of the guys that would go out and do adventuring stuff don't actually have like a workable skill or something like
Well,
even brewing.
it just depends. I mean, like every dwarf does, right?
Yeah.
Every dwarf does, and then tinker gnomes all know how to tinker, which is kind of weird in itself, but
and a good percentage of the backgrounds that
give you other
every
things.
adventurers have give you skills and proficiencies or tool proficiencies to be able to work with.
So the backgrounds give it to you.
Yeah, you usually get a tool, or they all do, either tools or languages.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times too, like I would let somebody down trade or laterally trade, say they would want to trade out a skill proficiency for a tool usage or a language down to a tool, because I think languages and tools are roughly approximate.
But that's not the same. That's not in the rules, though.
No, that's kind of house ruling.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean,
But you can switch a tool for another tool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, if it fits your character,
Well, let me tell you what you can't do. If you're a dwarf with armor proficiency and you take a class that has medium armor proficiency,
you can't trade that out for heavy.
already. You cannot trade it out for heavy.
Well, you can't cash in your light and medium twice and get a heavy.
No, it
No.
doesn't work that way.
Unfortunately, you can't.
They
You
don't
can't
add
make
together.
You can't make that kind of trade. But like in the backgrounds, it specifically states that if you get a skill proficiency or a tool proficiency that you already have,
Well, that you already have.
then you're supposed to be able to swap it out. Now, if you get something from a class or from a background that doesn't quite fit what you're looking for, I think most DMs will say, as long as you pick something that makes sense. Like for Outlander, if you decided to say, well, instead of survival, could I have knowledge nature? I think that makes sense. You're, as opposed to surviving out there, you're learning about what's out there.
Maybe you're more scholarly Outlander.
Right. I have no problem with that, and I think a lot of DMs will allow that kind of trade. But going by what the actual rules in the book say, it's only if you have it from another feature.
Also, too, I want to make a little bit of a retraction on what I said. A lot of the art stuff, I would allow someone to try untrained. You know what I mean? Like, so, for instance, along with cooking, things like painting, obviously, that's something, or wood carving, that is something someone could honestly just try and do. Maybe they'll get lucky and they will create the Picasso because they roll a natural 20.
Right.
But they can't replicate it. They can't keep doing it. They're untrained. So, they're unskilled at that. But, there are definitely some things on here that
You're not making leather armor. You're not making a sword. You're not going in and making a glass figurine.
I mean, they could attempt pottery if someone set them up with the right clay. But
Yeah, and sat them down and said, "Do this."
Yeah,
So-
we've all watched Ghost, right? So it wasn't that hard.
What do they say? Is there anything in here? I haven't seen it, but is there anything in here about getting instruction while you're doing something? So, for example, someone gives you a tool set, and someone's instructing you, like, okay, like I think
Help?
I think anybody.
That would fall under aid another, and if they pass their check, you get advantage.
We don't aid people in this edition.
So it'd
You
be
help people.
We help them.
Well,
Yeah, so it'd
We
be-
helped them to the grave.
aid and help are kind of.
So in that instance, I would also allow an untrained thing for certain things because you basically got it might take longer to do whatever like a blacksmith could do, but he's basically telling you what to do and work on. And I mean, one of the things with blacksmithing is, like, if I was to train someone, I'd recommend that they make their own tools, which is probably going to take them 250 days. When it comes down to
Come back to me once you've made your tools.
make
for
this type of
blacksmithing.
draw plier, make this, after you get through everything, when you start it with an anvil and a hammer, you're a pretty competent person once you've done 250 days of blacksmithing straight
Absolutely.
through. So I mean, at that point, you could just go off on your own and start a smithy. You might make some mistakes still, but there's for some things like painting, I don't really
That's
see.
the low rolls.
That's the low rolls.
That is where 5th edition gets a little weird too, though. So, like, if you do somehow pick up a skill later on, and you skipped all those earlier pluses, you're now like a +5. But because you picked it up later, you're just awesome at it.
You're just more competent in general at things, and you're just I'm confident about my
Yeah,
abilities.
so it comes from the confidence.
Yeah.
I can do this.
I will confidence a sword out of that block of iron. With my mind.
So any other proficiencies we didn't really get into yet? Or we kind of covered them all?
I mean, that's everything. I mean, we got water. I mean, the tools. You want to break down the tools into the subsets real quick?
Well, you got tools. You have artisans. Then you got disguise kit, forgery kit, gaming set, which has a handful of different things. Your herbalism kit, your musical instruments, your navigator's tools, your poisoner's kit, your thieves' tools, and then vehicles. And
that's a wrap.
And that's about it. Those are the things that you have to work with.
So hopefully we answer Colin's questions in a very long, roundabout, convoluted way. It doesn't give you advantage. You just get the user proficiency bonus to do said task.
And what it says in here is pretty much the DM makes the choice as to what stat is actually being chosen for the different thing. So it's like, if you're trying to do something that's delicate, physically it's obviously going to be dex. But if it's going to be, carving it, something out of a hard stone, that's probably going to be strength. It's probably a give and take. You might be able to persuade them to be able to use some kind of
Sometimes it's gonna be like an
mental stats.
intelligence.
Yeah.
Or if it's a difficult piece of material to work with, like sometimes stone cutting, they have, you kind of have to I would call like a wisdom, like a perception, kind of understanding of the different material in the stone and how if you hit it one way, it'll be good, and if you hit it another way, you might crack the piece.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I had a jeweler tell me that, not the jewelry you're probably thinking of, but a different one, tell me that actually jewelry is not so much of a finesse thing; it's more of a bruiser thing, which I never thought of. And you remember Tom, but when discussion I had with him, he was basically explaining how it really requires more strength than finesse, which I thought was odd. But you've done jewelry work.
I think it depends on your style. If you do chunky pieces, or if you, one of the things I would say would be when you're trying to precisely move something a very, very tiny amount, sometimes it's metal, so you're moving something that's strong, so you have to have that strength, but also you have to be careful with it, I guess is the best way to describe it. So yeah, you know,
So there are times that you're gonna use you would use your dex.
you
and
muscle it into
sometimes-
place, but at the same time you have you're doing very small actions. A lot of times it's not like you're wailing away with a hammer.
Two checks. Two checks.
Two checks, double the check.
Yeah. It's really
Well, it's
nice.
metalworking, blacksmithing, you know, metalworking kind of thing, and then it's also fine crafting of things, so
Right.
that are tiny. So unless you're like a halfling, but yeah, I can see it from that perspective. I have manhandled something into the
place.
piece I want it, and then I've also screwed
you-
something.
beat
I've
you
also
into
screwed
art.
something up by putting too much heat on it or getting it too close to the flame, which is all about, you know, precision
Right.
and things. So
Strike true.
That's right. My hammer.
so
you
there
just
can
get
be
your hammer blessed.
based on whatever trick you want to make with it. I mean, if you do really delicate pieces all the time with
I'll tell
fine
you,
wire,
this is what I do as a DM. This is great, guys. You're gonna love it. This works every time. Roll a d6. That's what stat they use.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't.
It
I don't.
keeps things interesting.
how about a D3?
How do I charisma this piece into a suit of armor?
I'm not going to use my con on my pottery check.
Unless you're making
You
a lot
might.
of
It might take a
everything.
long
It might take a long
time.
time to get everything right. Maybe you mess it up a few times.
No, this is what
Maybe
you do.
you didn't watch
You-
Ghost. I don't know.
You take your tools. You take your tools to your favorite patron deity, and you have them blessed by the local cleric. Yeah, there you go. And then this way you'll make something awesome.
Okay.
Or maybe the god hates you, and you roll a 1,
And then you
fail
make
and
something shitty.
You fail and destroy everything in the process.
So is there any way to speed up that process of learning? Is it like 5 hours a day, 2 hours a day?
No, it just says
Yeah.
every day for 250
So if you
days.
double it up, you can do 125, 16-hour shifts.
Yeah,
Sure,
that
if you
makes
could
sense.
not sleep, I guess.
No, you sleep and then
You be an elf.
you're trying to bang this out.
Be a warforged.
Warforged.
Or
Yeah,
a
24-hour day.
factory.
That's got to be at least 3 days of training right there. You
Well,
just got to
yeah,
get 3 different masters.
Be a warforged, and just it's like go through 3 different masters.
Most likely what would happen is over the course of a day, they're showing you stuff, and then they're also getting on
Let
with
me
whatever else
tell
they're
you
doing.
something about going to 3 different masters.
They're all
I
going to tell you
tried
something else?
I tried this with 2 different masters in martial arts, and what I learned is someone that's better than you at something can beat you up either way. Because they always because I would tell them what I was learning in the other school, which is really stupid. If you ever do this, don't ever do that. If you ever learn more than one fighting style at a time, don't do that. They don't like it. And then, so I would tell them, and then they would go back explaining to me why that was wrong. And because I sucked and they're awesome,
They're just going to beat it into you anyway.
Yeah,
What are you going to
Yeah.
do? Argue with that while you're on the floor or something?
yeah, the puddle of blood, go, ow, my spleen.
So, tools.
Tools.
Tools of violence, your fists.
My fist, your
So I would say
face.
that wraps it up then.
yeah, that's right.
So hopefully, that concludes tools and proficiencies, and it's as clear as mud now.
Yeah.
Clear as mud.
If you if that wasn't what you were looking for, you'd like more detailed description or explanation, or even to get into more detail with what tools would be in the tool sets, let us
Nate
know.
will personally come to your house and go over them all with you.
Yeah.
Through the internet, let's say. Through the internet.
Through the internet.
Yeah. So
Good save, good save.
I would say until next time, we can find us on
Facebook's.
places.
Facebook,
Nerdarchy.com.
right? Like, comment, to subscribe, you
And
know,
share even.
and share maybe.
And we're also on Reddit.
Yeah, that's right.
So until next time, my friends,
Stay
stay
nerdy.
nerdy.
Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. My name's Ryan,
I'm Nate.
Ted.
Dave.
and today we're tools. Oh no, wait, we're talking about tools.
Actually, I think we're talking about proficiencies.
Proficiencies that are part
Tools
of
just
tools.
happen to be a
And
proficiency.
so they're the catch all of that.
So, Proficiencies 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. We kind of did the primer video on this when we got in the PDF. But now we've had the book and we got the stuff and the things. And Colin Clausen asked us about tool proficiencies. So we said, you know what? Let's just do
Tools.
proficiencies.
Tools.
Right?
Yeah.
Which include tools.
Tools.
Which include tools. And
Tools.
so what you have now in 5th edition is you have
Oh yeah!
Can't do it. Not gonna do it.
No.
I think it spells out too whether like you can do like I think it might even say in tools that like if you're not proficient in it, then you can't really do anything. As far
Well,
as it
this
goes.
is one area of the game where really you have to rely on common sense,
But-
either through the players or the DM or some agreement in between there. And honestly, so not anyone can just pick up Smithy's tools and start forging a sword.
I absolutely agree with
They're
you.
probably going to end up with third-degree burns all over their body for just trying that.
I've many years ago,
You did just that. You picked up Smithy's tools and tried to forge a sword.
I did not try to forge a sword, and I didn't just pick it up and get burned. I had a
Any different than the other ones, they just give you the proficiency bonus essentially,
Right. Yeah.
+2 to +6.
right,
Yeah. I
and
guess
it
if
allows
you're-
you to do whatever
Yeah,
it is.
I would say the thing that really separates tools from other types of proficiencies, or from skill proficiencies, is the fact that you actually have to know how to use them to do the thing. The same thing, with everything else, you can attempt it. You just don't have a proficiency bonus.
Right.
But in this particular instance, I would say you actually have to have the proficiency in order to attempt it.
Well, I mean, it's. I think that would be the DM's call. Like,
Oh, I happen to be a DM.
you have
Boom! Called that shit!
a demonstration by a blacksmith, and the people I was with were given the opportunity to say, "Hey, do you want to give this a try?" And it was number one, exhausting, because you got the work was accomplished so slowly, but a little bit of exposure, and that's having done it. I would try to say, "Oh well, I know how to do something now," but the rule system is light, and anyone can make any kind of check. It's just a matter of whether you're successful or not. The rule says that if you're proficient with a tool, you can use your proficiency check to attempt it, or your proficiency bonus to make it a check. So if you're not proficient, it says, well, then you
Armor proficiencies, weapon proficiencies, skill proficiencies,
and
tool proficiencies,
like the Dremel or the drill.
instrument proficiencies,
Yeah.
and vehicle proficiencies.
Well, all the instruments, the vehicles, all of that falls under tools.
Tools, yeah.
So, it's just
Tools.
Ted knows tools.
the instrument is a tool for entertaining or amusement. The vehicle is a tool to get you from here to there. Another definition here, whatever.
So, basically, Colin wanted to know how the tool proficiency worked, and they give you advantage. And no, really, the way the tools work in this edition is it's just a subset. All the proficiencies have subsets, and they're not really